Now, there is no doubt about it that The View is by far the most vile program on live television via ABC and the Walt Disney Company, and how it's run excessively by Disney CEO Bob Iger, calling the majority of the shots on exactly how they should actually display their politics on live television. And unlike Jimmy Kimmel Live, we know that The View is actually and legitimately live on air. With Jimmy Kimmel Live, they actually pre-tape it hours before it debuts on television. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01, and thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So we know that there's a lot of things going on right now in New York City during the mayoral election. We know that there's a lot of division taking place within the city, and we know that The View hosts Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Whoopi Goldberg are not making it any easier. Now, one thing about all of this is that, yes, we do know that The View is getting a lot of flack as of late, both, of course, behind the scenes and in the public eye, based on how they've been acting out toward live audiences, whether it's during their taping or after their taping of the most recent episodes. What's interesting here, though, has a lot to do with exactly what happened with Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Whoopi Goldberg just outside of the studio that's responsible for taping The View's most recent episode. Now, we know one thing about all of this is that there's a lot of things going on with ABC and Disney. They are desperately trying to bump up ratings for The View. That's exactly why they're having serious discussions of replacing, or at the very minimum, having a new host on board to challenge Sunny Hostin's political views by next year in 2026. What's interesting, though, yet again, is that with the entire media and all of Hollywood dealing with endless backlash, and rightfully so, for not only mocking Charlie Kirk after his assassination, but also those lying about Charlie Kirk, one major development going on now involves more to do with the hosts of The View, Sunny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, and Joy Behar, who were recently booed off the street just outside the studio that films and airs The View for ABC. Now, it turns out that after the most recent taping of The View, and when it concluded, Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny were escorted by security to the front of the building. This is when a large crowd gathered around the hosts of The View, where Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny started to actually chant, "Vote for Zohran! Vote for Zohran!" This comes in the midst of the New York mayoral election taking place today. Shockingly, the hosts of The View were seen tossing out voting pins of Zohran Mamdani, and holding, of course, actual signs to vote for him. This is when the heckling started, where they were actually dealing with a very large group of either Trump supporters or regular Republicans, booing out loudly at the hosts of The View for pushing their political views for who should be the next New York City mayor. It turns out that booing from Republicans didn't actually start until Sunny Hostin, get this, decided to grab one of the signs from a nearby civilian that said Mamdani for mayor, where she decided to actually hold it up in front of the live crowd. This is when Sunny Hostin was booed at, where it got so extreme that security and their bodyguards decided to actually escort them quickly into their black SUVs before taking off quickly away from the drama that took place. Now, Sunny Hostin reportedly appeared very scared after she was booed at excessively for quickly holding up the sign, where security stepped in to yell at the crowd, asking for no photos or videos, please. In addition to all of that, the hosts of The View chanting for Zohran Mamdani to win the election and begging those to vote for him quickly backfired, where The View's SUVs, for a brief moment in time, were actually blocked off by people in the front. This is when New York City police had to actually intervene to take control of the situation before chaos broke out, as they were rushed off and away from the street right outside the studio. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about this. Now, we already know that Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny, they're not making anything easier for ABC and Disney's ratings. If anything, they're making it very easy for those ratings to crash big time. However, already Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny are planning to take part in a social media campaign if Zohran wins the New York mayoral election to promote his policies for New York, and they plan to actually do this through Instagram, TikTok, and among other social media platforms. So be, of course, on the lookout for that tomorrow. Now, this will more than likely backfire not just for their ratings at ABC, but also for how their own fans perceive them, as more of their loyal fans have been checking out and deciding to walk away for good. That's how bad the situation is. ABC executives and producers are already preparing on what the host should actually properly say for the next taping post-mayoral election, as they are desperately looking for a path now to bump up ratings, as the metrics have been falling at a very alarming rate for, of course, the Walt Disney Company. The more unhinged Sonny, Whoopi, and Joy decide to act, both on and off air. Now, guys, before I move on, let me just say one thing about all this. Now, it's one thing for Sunny Hostin to say what she has to say, either on air or inside the studio to the live audience during a Q&A session, as we talked about this last week. That completely backfired. It is another thing for them to actually come outside the studio as they're leaving the newest taping of The View and actually engaging in this political chaos, right, where they're grabbing signs, they're making all these different chants to the general public, and how you had a very large group of Republicans and Trump supporters there together that actually did boo them off the street, to the point that they were actually rushed into their SUVs and they had to take off from that street just outside the studio quickly. Now, one thing is for certain about all of this is that it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what New York City is going to look like once, of course, the election results come in either tonight or tomorrow. That's going to be a very interesting thing about how the media is going to handle it as well. It's going to be another situation where you're going to see Joy, Whoopi, and Sonny taking to social media, doing all these crazy, wacky things on video, so be expecting that. Interestingly enough, though, this is not looking good for the Walt Disney Company. It's most certainly not looking good for Bob Iger. We all know that Bob Iger is desperately trying to actually leave the Walt Disney Company on a good note before he decides to step down in 2026. And so far, everything is just crashing down. Whether it's movies at the box office, or television programs either on live television or through streaming for Disney+. Now you have this. You have everything with The View backfiring to a different level now, to the point that even their own dedicated fans are beginning to see through the mask, right? They're beginning to see through the fact that they're nothing more than just political talking heads, right? That's basically what it's all about. It's the Disney agenda, it's the Disney messaging, and it all stems from the top 3 shareholders over at Disney. And if you don't know this, that you should know. It's BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street that funds all of the nonsense that comes to Disney, whether it's about DEI or ESG or, you know, just really pushing agenda-driven projects or agenda-driven television. And people are just very much over it, and they're checking out at a very fast rate, I must add. So again, this obviously is backfiring on Sunny Hostin to a new level that we have not seen before, to the point that, yes, they are having these serious conversations right now at Disney on whether or not they want to either replace her altogether, or if they just want to have a brand new host to come on board to challenge Sunny Hostin daily about her view of politics. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. Anything ranging from the hosts of The View to the group of Republicans and Trump supporters actually booing them off the street to the point where they had to jump in their SUVs and take off quickly. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.